Okay, so I'm just looking to sort out this gap that we've got at the front of the airframe, which we talked about in the last video. And I think the easiest thing to do here, because that gap is a little bit too wide, I think, to stick glue straight into it on its own. I've just decanted a little bit of cyano, some super glue, onto a little palette, and we'll just add a little bit here into the recess. Don't have to be too fancy about this. You could mask and protect this combing here, but I'm sure it'll be fine for the moment. So the idea is we just kind of drop into that space a little section of plastic card, which I've got. So I've got all sorts of bits of plastic card all over the place, and you can buy it in section strips, lengths, and all sorts of other shapes and weird and wonderful shapes. So all I've done is get a piece that's kind of approximately that gap's width, cut it to length, dropped it in as you saw there, and then all I'll do is just add a little bit more super glue now over the top. Don't want to go too far back, so that we now cover that join. Look, you might have loads of ways of doing this yourself. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, why are you doing that? I've got a better way. Well, happy days, really. Good luck if you have, but this is just how I do it, as with all these techniques. And I just think it might be helpful for some of you. So there we are. That's in there now, and it's a nice plug. It's secure, and so what we can do is just get a little bit of zapper, kicker, whatever you want to call it, accelerator, but basically you can get some of this stuff. What I just happen to use this stuff here, but loads of places make it for modelers, so use your own preferred supplier. Now what I'm looking to do here is just to touch this onto the side of the fuselage at the top, just let it, there we go, run down over the join, quick blow to get it across the join, there we go. And what we can do now is just leave that alone for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, until that completely goes off and sets that nice and rock hard and steady, and then it'll be able to be sanded back. But because I've just stuck and adhered all the rest of the fuselage together, I'm not actually going to bother with that join just yet. I'm going to leave that now for at least a couple of days. Might seem an excessive amount of time, but for me, I just find that really invaluable, because it enables the glue that's in effect welded all the joins to really dry out thoroughly, nice and hard, and so we can avoid any risk of these kind of ghost seams appearing later on when you get to the painting side of stuff, which we've talked about in all sorts of videos, and you'll see elsewhere, talked about in the techniques bank and how to get rid of them. But leave it for a couple of days, all the glue and the plastic all melts into one and it dries rock hard, and we can then come back and just sand it and buff it, and there shouldn't be any need for any sorting out of ghost seams later on. So there we are. That's the B-17 at the moment, and the good thing is that I'd assembled the wings a little while ago, 2-3 days ago, and they'll be nice and dry now. So what we can do is that we're trying to plan the whole project so that when this fuselage section is drying for a couple of days, I can come back and work on the wings which I assembled earlier. And so by doing that sort of leapfrogging ahead in the stages and steps, you never end up with kind of downtime. I mean, there's never going to be any downtime in this house. There's always going to be at least 2, probably 3 projects on the go. But you know, not everyone has that amount of that number of builds on the go at any one time, and so, you know, rather than have downtime, it's useful for me to just come back and work on something else. So that's the plan, and we'll get on with that now.